The Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to have the assistance of counsel. The Sixth Amendment safeguards the dignity of the individual when confronted with the power of the state. No one should stand alone when accused of a crime. An effective legal advocate protects the innocent and ensures that even for those who have broken the law, a low point in a person's life will not necessarily define the rest of that life.
It's imperative to have a good lawyer whenever you're facing criminal charges, because 9 times out of 10, you don't know what's going to come of the charges. A charge might not seem like much. A charge could carry 40 years, 50 years, and you plead to it thinking it doesn't sound like much. You don't know the classifications of the felonies. You don't understand the words when you're in the courtroom. So it's just good to have a lawyer who cares. You know what I'm saying? It's important that can explain all these things to you, because if you don't know, you'll get a raw deal, and once you sign the paperwork, that's it.
You hear, being incarcerated, that once the door shuts behind you, the lawyer disappears. And that was never the case with my lawyer. You know, she answered the phone whenever I would call. And being a public defender, you know, I thought that was all done with. And it was just the opposite. You know, I heard some of the stories that, you know, other inmates would tell, and how the lawyers would sell them out and not fight for them. And again, it wasn't the case for me.
I think that representation, that defensive representation is necessary from the outset, because it challenges even the basis of an arrest. So someone who has a job or may be in school doesn't just automatically end up sitting somewhere for 30, 60, 90 days waiting on their first time in court or to see a lawyer. I did not have a lawyer from the outset. In fact, the first time that I was arrested, I did not see my attorney for 4 months. The way I felt, finally meeting my attorney after 4 months, understanding the process and the system now, it probably wasn't his fault. He was injected into that situation. But I really had a personal problem with him at that point, because I felt like, you're my representative and I'm sitting here needing your assistance, and I never saw you or heard from you. So, you know, it was difficult.
When an attorney has to deal with an overwhelming caseload, it becomes a matter of triage and processing, and that's not fair to the clients. If you have too many cases, you don't have time not only to just investigate the cases, but even to get to know your client. You're asking somebody to entrust their most valuable things, their freedom, their good name, their future, their family's well-being, in the hands of somebody who, if they have too many cases, may have only 10 or 15 or 20 minutes sometimes to meet somebody, assess their case, and ask them to make a life-altering decision. It's simply not fair to somebody who's facing those types of consequences.
The justice system is a search for the truth. And on behalf of prosecutors, that is constantly what our mission is. We're out there to seek justice. In order to seek justice, a vigorous defense is absolutely necessary. It's contained within our Constitution and throughout the criminal justice process. Once a case is filed, once there is representation, having a vigorous defense is part of that process, and it's part of the truth seeking.
It's important for everybody who has contact with the criminal justice system to have the right to counsel, because it makes for better cops. It keeps you sharp. It's like, if you're not playing against a good team, you become sloppy and you start to cut corners. A good attorney keeps you honest.
Oftentimes, all of the other things that go into why an individual has committed the crime they've committed, which may be mental health issues, it may be substance abuse issues, it may be intellectual deficiencies, it may be medical issues, can't come out. They can't be brought out without having counsel. And counsel means not just having a body there to stand up beside them and hold their hand while they're pleading guilty. It means somebody to tell their story and explain maybe why they've done what they've done, or to help them to understand why they've done it and what the avenues may be to prevent them from repeating that behavior in the future.
It's everybody's right to be able to, especially in the situations of traumatic times. It's to have somebody that fights for you when you can't fight for yourself. And I think that's important.
On my last charges, I had got to a point in my life where basically everybody had given up on me. My mother was like, I'm not helping you, handle it yourself. My friends, I didn't have any friends. I knew I was gonna do my time alone. The only person who came to see me was my attorney. Like, we would sit down there in the little cell they put us in for like an hour or two, talk about sports. He just made me feel relevant. Like, don't worry about it, it's gonna be okay. I know it's behind you, and you're gonna get a chance to show everybody it's behind you. And without him, I probably wouldn't have got through it.
Probably the most difficult cases as a prosecutor is when somebody isn't represented, because there is always going to be that question of, did they realize the significance of a piece of evidence? Did they file a motion that they should have filed? It places the prosecutor in that position of not only having the role of trying to prove the case, but also to protect someone who's trying to represent themselves from themselves, from they themselves being incompetent, hence bringing the case back once again to try to do it right the next time.
When I've been in court and you have a defendant who's there on their own, they're just totally lost. They don't know the basic procedures, the right questions to ask, and they have the potential for falling through the cracks way too much. If you have a good defense attorney representing them, they have a much better chance of getting a fair shake. And that's what the system is supposed to be about, everybody getting a fair shake.
What I'm hoping people will learn about the criminal justice system is that representation is paramount. If you don't understand not only the language of the law, but the letter of the law, it's not something to play with. These records follow you for life, effectively, and especially felonies. Every felony conviction is a life sentence. And so the importance of representation cannot be expressed enough.
I think one of the things that offering people who are economically poor counsel, it really affirms the dignity of their humanity, and from the perspective of a religious leader, that is crucial to our understanding of what life is. And I think also as a person who's part of a democracy, dignity for all is something that I think is part of what we are trying to manifest here.